Look, it's a Roxanne Radius record player. I think this is everything that Pro-Ject and Rega never managed to pull off. It's a great sounding record player. I highly recommend them, but that's not what this video is about. It is a little bit about Pro-Ject, but mostly about Phono Preamplifiers. It's quite rare for me to buy something new, but when I do, it must be quite special and I want you guys to know about it. So what I bought is this. It's a Fosi X5, a Chi-Fi, Chinese hi-fi, Phono Preamplifier, NMC, with 6 levels of amplification, and these are supposed to be really good. I can tell you already they are because I did a little bit of testing. I'm going to share that with you. And for the comparison, this is $120. So is this. This is the Pro-Ject Phonobox S. Same story. Has and MC capabilities and a few levels of amplification. Not completely the same levels, but I matched them as closely as possible. So that's a thing. And then there is the tried and true, much beloved by me and many others, Schiit Mani. There's now a Schiit Mani 2 that's supposed to be even better. This is the Schiit Mani 1. I adore it. 2 levels of amplification and and MC capabilities. Now, I don't care too much about the MC capability. I'm not an MC user myself. I prefer a good which is an unpopular opinion, I know, but I stick to it. But these amplifiers can do it. It is, however, not what we're going to test. So what we're going to do, we're going to use our testing player that I have by now. It's the Pioneer PL112D with an Audio-Technica 1895 HE hyperelliptical stylus. That's a stylus you can buy on LP gear. That is incredible value because it really lifts the card to insane levels. So we're going to compare them, and I compared them with a few more songs. You're only going to get one song because of music rights, and I know I can use this safely. You're going to listen to A Band of Bees, as they're known in America, or in the UK, where they're from, as The Bees, and the song is Punch Bag. So have a listen. You'll see on the screen which player is playing. The scene you're seeing has nothing to do with the sound you're hearing. That was recorded separately, but because the player I'm using as a Lazy Susan has 16 RPM, that seemed like the best option for this. Enjoy the sound, do your own comparison, and then I'll come back to you to tell you what I think. Well, folks, you find me in my living room with a stack of records and a stack of preamplifiers, and I gave them a listen. I took notes, illegible, even I can't read them, so I'm gonna have to go through them fast before I forget what I wrote, because this is just, yeah. I have thoughts, and you have listened to the bees, and I think many of you will be like, I can't hear a difference, or the difference is very small, and I would have to agree. These are all pretty close to each other. It was hard for me to pick a favorite. I don't think I really did. There's one that I like least. And I'm gonna rip off the band-aid. The one that I like least, even though it's actually a really good preamp and you find them secondhand everywhere, is the Pro-Ject. And then the other two, that's where it gets tricky. Let me explain. Let's start with the bees, the song Punch Bag from their amazing record, still one of my favorite records, if not my favorite record ever made. Sunshine Hit Me, recorded in a shed in the hills on the Isle of Wight. Awesome. I listened to the Fosi first. That was my reference. And compared to the Fosi, I noticed that the what's it called? Schiit. Yeah, that is a joke. You should read the manuals. They're hilarious. Compared to the Fosi, the Schiit was a little more dynamic, and I could hear that the resonance around that mellotron, I think they use in the beginning, or whatever that is. It's not a mellotron, but anyway, the keys. The resonance around that is very pronounced with this one. It's actually a bit rattly, a bit metallic, kind of nice. It almost feels like it shouldn't be there, but it's clearly in the recording, and this one reveals it, the others don't. So that was cool. There's more space, there's more dynamics, and then I wrote, yeah. Oh, less definition in the mids. Yeah, the voice and the drums were a little less defined. And it sounded less natural because of that. So that was a bit of a letdown. And then the Pro-Ject, leg stop high. You'll see that in every review from these. It leg stop high. It really does. Over like 14 kilohertz. There's just not much there. It sounds a little boxy in the low end, a little hollow. Not egregious, but it's there. And it didn't image very well, so everything was sort of stuck to the speakers, and it wasn't like there was no space for the instrument, so that was not great for the Pro-Ject. Then there was Dylan LeBlanc's Pastime album. Not a great recording, but I've been listening to this a lot lately, and there's beautiful songs on there. They're all covers, but very well done. I was listening to Glenn Campbell's Gentle on My Mind, as done by Mr. Dylan LeBlanc, and I found, compared to the Fosi again, with which I started, I found the Schiit to be calmer, slightly more pleasant sounding. Could be a bit boring on certain rigs, but on mine I thought it was quite nice. It has more air, but the low end is a bit lacking. There's a depth and a roundness to the low end in that recording. It's not a lot of low end, but there's some that was lacking on this that was clearly there on the Fosi. Less definition in the voice and less stereo depth, I wrote, which means I actually preferred the Fosi in this case. So last time I preferred the Schiit, now I prefer the Fosi. So it's 1-1 for the Schiit and the Fosi. And then I listened to Jordu, I don't know how you pronounce it, this beautiful recording from, I think, the late 50s, yeah, 1957. Lovely record. You can find these quite cheap. Almost all of them sound good, even if you have a cheap reissue. Highly recommend you get this one, if only for testing. And I listened to the Fosi first again, and then compared to the Fosi, I found that the Schiit had more attack, which is cool because there's a lot of attacky drums in that song. There was less roundness and less looseness in the low end, and the song really needs this. There was less air, so everything was a bit like blocked in. There was not a lot of space around the instruments, and yeah, and for that reason, I preferred the Fosi again, which rattles, but I think that's just the. Yeah, it's just the ground screw. I prefer the Fosi again. So the Schiit here, not the winner. So we have one, let me check. Yeah, we have one win for the Schiit, one win for the Fosi, and another win for the Fosi. Of course, I listened to the Phonobox as well. Legs highs, boxy low, and legs transparency. Again, not a bad sounding thing, just worse than the other two. And then there is Gypsy Curse by Calexico. A Tex-Mex rattly recording with some trumpets and some violins and some rattly bass and drums. Quite a mediocre recording, but there's a lot going on and a lot to go wrong, so it's useful for this. Tried the Fosi first, as always, and compared to that I found the Schiit to have more space, more height, so the sound was not just coming to me, but also going up and down in the speakers and above the speakers and below-ish the speakers, and more depth, but less width. So everything was a bit you know, between the speakers, where with the Fosi it would also move outside the speakers, which is a bit weird with this recording because it really pulls to the right, at least on this pressing, so it was mostly outside of the right speaker. So I did prefer in the end the Schiit for this one. So that means 2 for the Fosi, 2 for the Schiit. Am I right? A, B, B, A. Yes. So Schiit and Fosi neck and neck. And then there is the Pro-Ject, which was calmer, was rhythmically very strong in this song, actually quite remarkable. And there was a nice dryness to the drums, made them a bit less irritating to listen to. No air though, everything was flat as a pancake, there was no space around the instruments. And that has to lead me to a conclusion. So as you can tell, these two, neck and neck with these 4 songs. I am tempted to go for the Schiit still, but that's purely based on the fact that I really like a sound that is slightly less aggressive. The Fosi is a little brighter sometimes, has a little more pointy sound. Very subtle difference though, they are actually quite similar. I think that technically the Fosi is a slightly better preamp if it's to your taste. It has more space, more air, more definition in general. The Schiit is a bit more refined in the highs. The Fosi is definitely a bit better in the mids. These are neck and neck. If you have to choose between these two, pick the cheapest. What I do really like about the Fosi though, is that it comes with a proper power supply. None of that, you know, what's it called, switching crap. It's just a big, fat, heavy power supply that does the voltage you need. And that's it. And that helps. I would love to try it on the others, but they have different voltages, so I can't. But a good power supply does a lot. So actually getting a better power supply for this one, or even for the Pro-Ject, may make them better competitors, may make them win even. But as they come, as they are out of the box, I think objectively, the Fosi is the best of the 3. I slightly prefer the Schiit, but honestly, that's completely unimportant. What I do like though is that the Schiit has micro switch, what are they called again? Dip switches at the bottom, which is annoying. The Pro-Ject has dip switches at the bottom, which is a bit annoying. And the Fosi has 1 knob for amplification and 1 knob for MM and MC. Makes it easier to deal with, easier to work with. It's a nice little case. They are both pretty light. This one's a bit deeper. They don't nicely fit on top of each other. I'm still not sure how to fix that because I will be using both of these. This one I'll keep using for the Pioneer because I've been making these cartridge comparison videos with this one and I need to be consistent. If you haven't seen them yet, go and check the playlist Cards Compared. It's quite enlightening for people. And the other one's going to be hooked up to my Lenco L75S, which I mostly use for 78s and 16 RPM records, but it's a really good sounding record player. So I might sometimes put a proper recording on it as well. Anyway, if you just bought yourself a Fosi X5, you did very well. If you already have a Schiit Mani, maybe worth looking at the version 2. Maybe it's a little better, I don't know. They're quite expensive to get here because you have to import them from America and you get all the tariffs and whatnot. So I'm not going to get a second one, but the Mani 1 is definitely no better nor worse than the Fosi in my experience. And if you have one of these and you have a perfectly good audio rig and you're happy with it, don't go upgrade. The difference isn't that big. Make a bigger step. So it's worse than the other two. Yes, it is. But the difference is, you know, if I put this one at 100% and I put the Schiit at 90%, this is at like 82. It's perfectly fine. So no worries about me maybe telling you that your preamp is the worst. This is the Phonobox S. The S2 is notably better. So if you have that, well done. I don't have it here, so I can't compare, but I know it is because I used to own it. All in all, these are great Phono preamps around the $100, $150 mark. You can be happy with either of them. And yeah, I'm happy that the Chi-Fi stuff is becoming really good lately because there's some awesome stuff out there these days. So that was that. Rewind, listen to the Bees recording again, see what you think, use some good headphones. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you make a choice. And happy spinning. See you in the next video.